Hello, good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight. I'm Roger Johnson. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening. Our top story. Jay Slater's family say no words can express their pain more than 2 weeks after the teenager disappeared in Tenerife. The 19-year-old from Twistle in Lancashire went missing after the first night of his holiday with friends. Also tonight, Isle of Man cyclist Mark Cavendish makes history with a record 35th stage win on the Tour de France. Hours before those polls open, we're in the Peak District, taking a look at one of the region's key marginals. Buzzing about bees. Art and science come together in a spectacular new nature show in Liverpool.
And the summer weather continues in an unsettled and cool manner. Join me shortly for the full forecast.
Jay Slater's mum says that no words can describe the pain and agony after her son went missing in Tenerife 17 days ago. The 19-year-old from Twistle in Lancashire was on his first foreign holiday with friends when he disappeared after a night out. A major police search has been called off, but the investigation is continuing, and the family says that public donations will also be used to help fund searches by family and friends. Jonas Muller has this report.
19 years old, popular and just a normal guy is how Jay Slater's mum describes him. But more than 2 weeks since his disappearance, we're no closer to finding out what's happened to him. In a statement through the Missing Persons Overseas charity LBT Global, Debbie Duncan said, "We are a very close family and are absolutely devastated about his disappearance. Words cannot describe the pain and agony we are experiencing. He is our beautiful boy with his whole life ahead of him, and we just want to find him." The teenager's last known location was the Rural de Teno National Park in the north of Tenerife, where he had gone with two men he met at a festival. The search in the village of Masca has involved the steep, rocky area, including ravines, trails and paths. The Guardia Civil called for extra volunteers last Saturday before officially calling off their search. But a UK journalist based out there told me he has noticed forensic activity at the Airbnb where Jay was staying.
We've got the Guardia Civil who are looking at it and treating it as a missing person. Then we also have a parallel investigation by the Polizia Judiciaria who are also looking at it. I should stress that we don't have any firm evidence that there is any criminality involved, but they are looking at that aspect of it.
The teenager called a friend to say he was lost and needed water and had little phone battery left, but was going to head back to his accommodation, an 11-hour walk away. But the mystery surrounding what happened next has led to intense public interest. Jay's mother adds, "We are aware of the conspiracy theories and speculation on social media and some websites, and can only describe this as vile. The negative comments are extremely distressing to our family." They've thanked the Spanish authorities for their tireless efforts, but they've also spoken of the love and support they've received, especially from Jay Slater's hometown of Twistle. Jonas Muller, BBC North West Tonight.
Now, it's taken 6 weeks. This is almost the last time that we're going to mention the general election. It's polling day tomorrow, of course, so the airwaves will finally be largely politics-free before, of course, the deluge of analysis on Friday once the results are in. Our political editor, Annabel Tiffin, is here again for the umpteenth time, poor you, during this campaign. Which seats should we be keeping an eye on, do you think?
I think the answer to that, Roger, is which seats shouldn't we be keeping an eye on? We always thought that the North West was going to be a key region in this election campaign, and so it has been. Senior politicians rode on steam trains, they fell off paddleboards, they went hiking with an ex-footballer to grab our attention. Now, if you think back to the last election in 2019, the focus then was on those red wall seats, many of which shifted to the Conservatives. Labour want them back. Places like Lee, Bury North, Hyndburn, Rochdale, which went to George Galloway's Workers' Party of Britain in a by-election in May, of course, over a protest vote over the war in Gaza. And the Gaza issue, well, could it still have an impact on the Labour vote in some other seats in Lancashire and Greater Manchester? The Liberal Democrats are only defending one parliamentary seat here, but they are focusing most of their attention on Hazelgrove and Cheadle. They really want to take back those Stockport seats from the Conservatives. Reform UK, they have their eyes particularly on 2 seats in Blackpool. They're so optimistic of their chances there. Leader Nigel Farage held a large rally. Now, the polls are dismal for the Tories, a couple even predicting a complete wipeout here in the northwest. But in places like Congleton, Ribble Valley, Tatton, can majorities of 18,000 plus really be overturned? Well, one seat which has attracted a lot of attention that we perhaps didn't predict at the start of this campaign is Macclesfield in Cheshire. It's only ever had a Conservative MP, but Labour and Conservatives have thrown everything or everyone at it. Keir Starmer's been there, as has Angela Rayner. The Conservatives sent the Prime Minister and David Cameron. And the fact that both main parties have sent in their big hitters show just how important they think this seat is. Finally, another constituency to look out for is High Peak. It's a bellwether seat. In other words, whichever party wins here tends to win the election, with just a brief exception in 2017. So I've spent the day in the Derbyshire constituency meeting the candidates vying to win it. This election night, keep an eye on High Peak. Hard not to, with its rolling hills and pretty towns. But it's also a bellwether seat. The party that wins here tends to also get into government. Robert Largan won the seat for the Conservatives in 2019 with a small majority. Some of his campaign material has been criticised. Reform for Robert, Labour for Largan, confusing for the electorate. He says they're just a light-hearted way of showing he has support everywhere.
I'm as surprised as anyone. We even had someone the other day who has a Labour poster in his window come down the street to tell me, ignore the poster, I'm voting for you.
Are you still proud to be a Conservative candidate under the Conservative banner?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Conservative. I stand on that banner. I'm proud of it. Though I have always said, even at the last election, that the reason I'm a Conservative is because they're the least bad. I don't think there's anything called a perfect political party. Yeah, I'm philosophically Conservative. They're the values that I stand on, and I'm really proud of my record of getting things done for the local area.
Buxton is High Peak's largest town, popular with tourists. But you don't have to look too far to see another side. There's real poverty here. Chris and Becky have been homeless for 6 months.
I don't get that. We're on the streets. We're more vulnerable on the streets, and he's more vulnerable as he is, has been disabled for life.
Yeah. You want more help?
Yeah, we need more help.
Do you think that the politicians can do more to help people like yourself?
I mean, you know, over COVID, they house all the homeless. There's clearly spaces for homeless people. Yeah. It's just whether they want to do it or not.
Nice to see you. How are you?
One of those aiming to become the MP here and tackle some of those issues is Labour's Jonathan Pearce.
The cost of living crisis has affected so many people here. Food banks have increased the number of support that they're doing. I was at Zinc recently, and it was really worrying to see the amount of people, working people, that are having to rely on food banks. And you know, there's some real difficult problems that aren't being solved by the Conservatives, and that we desperately need a Labour government to come in and solve.
The rural villages and former mill towns that make up High Peak all come with their own individual issues. In Chapel on the Frith, we meet Green candidate Joanna Collins.
There are at least 350 empty homes in High Peak and lots of other empty buildings, and my priority would be to bring them back into use as houses. Then building new homes. There's quite a lot of sort of empty space, car parks which are hardly used and things like that could be used to build social housing.
Okay. The Lib Dem candidate is Peter Hurst.
We have excellent policies for rural areas and to help poverty. And as you know, Ed Davey has been sort of championing carers manifesto. So those are all sort of areas in which I think High Peak would benefit from a Liberal Democrat presence.
Whoever wins here this election has a lot of issues to deal with, as diverse and widespread as the Derbyshire countryside itself. And we did ask the candidate for Reform UK to take part, but they declined. Now, as Roger said earlier, it's an election-free zone tomorrow because it is polling day. Don't forget to take your ID with you when you vote. Polls close at 10 p.m. and you can follow everything that's happening in the North West on your local BBC radio stations and online throughout the night, Roger.
Chance for you to get some rest tomorrow, ready for a very busy night and busy day.
Very busy night, very busy day, yes.
Brilliant. Annabelle, thank you, as always. Right, coming up later in the programme, Mark Cavendish makes history in the Tour de France and we'll have a full weather forecast for you. But first, 3 men have been arrested on suspicion of child cruelty at a school in Wirral. An investigation into the Life School in Wallasey, an independent school for children with special educational needs, was launched in June after the BBC Panorama programme broadcast video footage filmed by an undercover journalist at the school. Police believe an 85-year-old man from Cheshire who's been missing for over a week has walked 27 miles to North Wales. George Futrell left his home in Neston 8 days ago and has been spotted several times on CCTV. He was last seen in the Holywell area. The Lakes Parish Council has passed a motion of no confidence in the National Park Authority. It says that there are concerns over mass tourism and the cost of housing. The authority says that it is disappointed and will respond directly. Now, Cheshire Police say that investigations are continuing at 2 North West hospitals where the convicted baby killer Lucy Letby was a nurse. A public inquiry into how she was able to murder 7 babies and try to kill 7 others is due to start in a couple of months' time. Yesterday, the 34-year-old, as you will know, was found guilty of the attempted murder in a retrial of an infant called Baby K in 2016. Andy Gills here is going to assess the latest situation, Andy, in the various inquiries into Lucy Letby's crimes.
That's right, Roger. There are 3 separate inquiries into Lucy Letby, 2 by the police and 1 by a judge in a public inquiry. Let's look at the 2 by Cheshire Police first. Detectives are looking at the full period when Letby was employed as a nurse, either at the Countess of Chester Hospital or when she was on placement at the Liverpool Women's Hospital. That's from 2012 to 2016. During that time, there were 4,000 admissions of babies at the 2 hospitals. That doesn't mean that police are investigating all 4,000. They're reviewing what happened to those babies, and if there's a medical concern in any of them, then they'll take a more detailed look. The second police investigation is a corporate manslaughter inquiry at the Countess of Chester Hospital. They're looking at issues like senior leadership and decision-making to determine whether any criminality has taken place. Police said yesterday it's a sensitive and complex inquiry, and at present they're not investigating any individuals for gross negligence manslaughter. Now, in addition to the police inquiries, there's a public inquiry led by Lady Justice Thirlwall. It's due to begin on September the 10th at Liverpool Town Hall. It'll examine how Letby was able to commit her crimes. Should suspicions about her have been raised earlier? Should she have been suspended earlier? Should the police have been informed sooner of suspicions about her? So far as the criminal process is concerned, Letby cannot now appeal her convictions, and she'll be sentenced for the attempted murder of baby K on Friday. It's likely she'll get another whole life sentence because of K's vulnerability as a newborn and because of Letby's position of trust as a nurse. Roger.
Andy, thank you very much. That was Andy Gill there. Now, briefly, I promise, back to the general election. You've been telling us about some of the issues which matter to you through Your Voice, Your Vote. And one of those is transport, everything from rail fares, train fares to potholes. So what are the parties offering? Well, here's our transport correspondent, Judy Hobson, to take a look.
Transport is a critical issue in general elections due to its impact on the economy, the environment and on social equality. But sorting out the region's transport links will be a difficult task. Lewis runs a business in Manchester. When he needed to go to London to meet a client, he was shocked by the price of the ticket.
It came back as £340, I think, just for a same-day return to London, which I thought was pretty insane. As a business, we'd like to make more sustainable choices, but when it's 80 to 90% cheaper to drive or to even fly, it makes it very difficult to do that.
Rail company Avanti said tickets are much cheaper if bought in advance. But can we really expect the next government to lower rail fares?
There's almost no prospect of train fares coming down. The profit margins are tiny anyway, so even if they are renationalised and the profit is taken out, it's a few pence per passenger journey. The only way to get fares down significantly is to do what's done in Europe and put a lot more taxpayer money in to support the cost of those journeys.
So what are the political parties promising on rail? A commitment from the Conservatives to Network North, a set of schemes put in place after cancelling HS2 to Manchester, a recommitment to Northern Powerhouse Rail, the link east-west, and the creation of Great British Railways to modernise the system. Labour will ensure passenger rail returns to public ownership as soon as contracts end. It will set up Great British Railways to look after day-to-day operations and improve connections across the north. And the Liberal Democrats say they will freeze rail fares, extend electrification and deliver Northern Powerhouse Rail. They'll also review the cancellation of HS2 to Manchester.
In the campaigning, there's been almost no mention of public transport. It's really been sort of left in the background. And that's partly because at the moment it's still very expensive to provide. If we want fares to go down or if we want more trains or whatever, the taxpayer is going to have to cough up quite a bit of money on top of what it's already giving to support the rail network at the moment because passenger numbers are still depleted.
Passenger confidence in our buses has also been falling. Here in Lancaster, Jim Davis campaigns for a better bus service.
We have quite a good bus service in Lancaster. But certain elements of it, such as evening services and Sundays and very much the rural services, they do depend on funding. What we really want is fair funding based on need rather than competitive bidding.
So since I went back to work from maternity leave back in September, there's been quite a few cancellations and things like that.
They just don't turn up. I've been late for college, been late for doctor's appointments.
The Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats say they'll continue with the current £2 fare cap. Labour says it will reform the bus system, giving more powers to local leaders, and all pledge to expand services. Finally, a word on roads. The Conservatives have promised to put £8.3 billion into road repairs. Labour has pledged to repair 1 million potholes a year in England, and the Liberal Democrats say they will invest £300 million, which they say will fix 1.2 million potholes a year. All parties say they are committed to reforming our transport links, but they've got their work cut out. Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight.
That's it. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, the polls open. Don't forget your ID, your photo ID, if that's what you need, in order to vote. Right, let's move on to sport. Richard is here. We were all clustered around the TV. I don't know what time it was, about 4:30 this afternoon.
Something like that, yeah.
To watch Mark Cavendish make history in the Tour de France. It was so exciting.
It was amazing, wasn't it? He's been trying for some time to get this record. So dramatic, so impressive. But today, the Ironman star completed his 35th stage win in the Tour de France, having been tied on 34 with the legendary Belgian cyclist Eddy Merckx since 2021. The Manx missile, who's now 39, missed 2022's race, crashed out last year, you might remember, and must have feared his chance to make history had gone. But his young children were watching as he did make history, winning, as I say, stage 5 of this year's race in thrilling style.
But Cavendish, it's done! It's done!
The moment Mark Cavendish knew he'd done it. A record 35th stage win that puts him out on his own.
Well, I'm in a little bit of disbelief. The boys improvised and got me there in the best position, and I shot onto whatever train was going and was able to win.
Mark Cavendish's trademark sprint to the line sees him overtake the legendary Eddy Merckx's long-standing record, an achievement that cements the Manx missile's legacy as the greatest road sprinter of all time.
Are we going to get that sort of Hollywood ending? It's been 3 years since he won a stage of the Tour de France. We've had this, this 35th stage hovering over him for 3 years. This is almost certainly his last year. And you think, well, surely it's too much to ask. We're not going to get that. We're not going to get the fairy tale ending. We did.
Mark's talent has been obvious from an early age. After turning professional as a road racer in 2005, he won 11 races in that first year, with his victories at the Tour stacking up year after year, before today's historic victory. Multiple Olympic gold medalist Ed Clancy shared a house with Cav when the pair were young riders.
20 years ago, 21 years ago, Mark always said that he was going to be the best sprinter in the world. A lot of us took that as a bit of a joke and almost laughed it out of the room. But the whole cycling world's quite emotional right now. I think so many keen cyclists, just like myself, have kind of followed Cav's career through all the highs and the lows, and it hasn't been plain sailing. Always believed in himself, and there's always been people around him that have believed in him. But yeah, it's great to see him finally do the business. And yeah, I know I'm biased, but I'm struggling to think of a greater achievement in the world of sport right now.
For Mark, this was clearly a very emotional moment, one he's been working towards all his life and one to share with his very proud family.
No, you have to go all in. And we've done it. We worked exactly what we wanted to do.
And whatever happens for Mark in the rest of the tour, he is in the history books with an achievement that ranks him alongside some of the greatest names that the sport of cycling has ever seen. What an achievement. He truly is a legend of cycling, isn't he? Talking of legends, Jimmy Anderson took another wicket in what could be his final appearance for Lancashire, but the championship game with Notts ended in a draw. The fast bowler, who makes his farewell test appearance for England next week, claimed his 8th wicket of the match. Nottinghamshire avoided defeat thanks to some damp weather in Southport and an unbeaten century from Joe Clark. Some football news for you. Burnley are closing in on the appointment of Scott Parker as their new manager. The 43-year-old former England midfielder has been out of work since March last year after being sacked by Belgian side Club Brugge. BBC Sport understands Parker is the preferred choice to succeed Vincent Kompany and has held more talks with the Clarets this week. Now, if you caught yesterday's programme, you'll know that BBC Radio Manchester presenter Mike Sweeney was making his England debut today for the over-75s against Wales. Well, it was good news for the 76-year-old broadcasting legend, with England taking home the trophy after a thumping 7-1 victory.
So I've never done it before, and I've no idea whether I'll do it again. So this is the first time I've played for the England international team, over 75s. We won 7-1, which it is great because I actually thought we played really well.
Mike is very competitive, as you know, Roger. I won't mind betting there were a few meaty challenges in that match, but what an achievement. 76 years old.
Though, didn't he? Thank you, Rich, very much indeed. Terrific. Well done. Now, the latest exhibition at Liverpool's World Museum is creating a bit of a buzz, literally. It's about bees, but it has a sting in the tail. The collaboration between artists and scientists aims to show how important these threatened insects are to our lives. Lindsay Prosser flew in to take a look.
To the artists, bees are simply wonderful.
They're perfectly tuned to the environment, and so if the environment's fine, the bees are fine. The bees aren't sadly doing so well at the moment. So I suppose the point of this exhibition is to let the world know how beautiful, amazing and essential they are.
Giant images take the visitor into the bees' world.
Bees see very differently to us. You know, bees see ultraviolet light, and so in a way it's trying to change the perspective. So when you come into the exhibition, it's kind of shrinking yourself down so you're the same size of a bee.
So if we press the buzzers here, I can feel a vibration, and that is how bees communicate, isn't it?
Yeah, we believe that bees are deaf, and bees communicate through vibrations. And bees have this incredible language. So the sounds that you are hearing here is the sounds of recordings that we've made of bees talking to each other, requesting a sample of food or telling other bees to leave the colony, which way to go and where the food is.
The loss of wildflower meadows, which impacts on the bees' survival, is also reflected in the exhibition, and it's hoped that visitors of all ages will want to protect the insects. So the specks of light we can see on the wall are a combination of pollen and stardust, signifying how important bees are. But you can make shapes in this room, can't you?
Yeah, that's correct. So it suggests the idea, that we're all stardust. Everything is kind of connected, and when you kind of come up to this, the camera will take you, and then the shadows, the movements that you'll make get picked up here. So everything's kind of connected.
The exhibition runs until May next year. Lindsay Prosser, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
Fascinating, isn't it? Not great weather for the bees a little earlier. I looked out of the window and it was bucketing down. So let's see what the forecast is like. Paul Mooney's got it for us again tonight.
Good evening. Well, the summer weather continues in that very unsettled pattern. We'll all see some rain at times over the next few days. It will be windy at times as well. Temperatures remain on the cool side. It's basically because the jet stream is staying so close to the UK. Now, we saw one frontal system move through today, and that leaves us in this showery westerly airflow over the next 24 hours or so. A lot of lines on the chart, so it is going to become pretty windy. Overnight tonight, 1 or 2 showers feeding in on a freshening breeze. Some lengthy clear spells in between, and under those clearer skies, we could see the temperatures down to about 7 or 8 Celsius at their lowest. Tomorrow looks like a windy day, though. We'll see some blustery showers feeding in on that westerly wind. Some of the showers will be heavy, but they'll pass through quickly on the gusty wind. Those gusts could exceed 40 miles an hour in 1 or 2 spots. And we will see some sunshine in between the shower clouds. Temperatures will peak around about 17 or 18 Celsius. Then, as we head through the next few days, well, low pressure dominates the charts. Weather fronts coming and going. The wind's freshening up at times, and it does remain pretty unsettled as we head into, and indeed right through the weekend. So as we head into Friday, it's a mostly dry picture through the day, some sunny spells. The cloud will eventually thicken up though, and that rain will move in from the southwest overnight. Temperatures again mid to high teens, typical with lighter winds on Friday. Then as we head into the weekend, well, Saturday we'll see early rain becoming more showery through the day, some brighter spells developing. Temperatures really disappointing though, 14 to 16 Celsius through Saturday afternoon in that brisk westerly wind. Sunday, again, a mixture of sunshine and showers, some of the showers heavy, perhaps even thundery. It'll still be on the breezy side, temperatures 16, maybe 17 Celsius if you're lucky. So it stays very changeable and on the cool side.
Thanks a lot, Paul. As I mentioned the other night, Kay's just had a bit of time off, but she will be back very soon. Tomorrow night, we'll be at the Lytham Festival. Shania Twain, fresh from Glastonbury, apparently playing tomorrow. Of course, it's polling day, general election tomorrow. Polls open 7 in the morning, close at 10 o'clock tomorrow night. You need photo ID if you're going to vote. There's a big list on the government website about the acceptable forms, but it does say that your photo ID must look like you, but you can still use it even if it has expired. So there we go. Thank you for watching and have a great evening. Good night.